We are recording and live.
Cool. All right. What do we do again? It's been a while. No, okay. I had every intention of being at the last meeting, but my reception from Door County was really bad. So let's get the August 11th meeting underway, and we'll note that Alder Scannell, are you here?
Hi.
Alder Gerlach, it looks like you're here.
I'm here.
And Alder Burnett. And Alder Weary. Okay. And can I have an approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Scannell, second by Gerlach. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes
Motion to approve.
Second.
by Scannell, second by Gerlach. Changes? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Regular business, number 1, consideration with possible action on correcting erosion issues on the 1000 block of LeCount Road, referred to staff July 28th. Alder Burnett, did you want this one first, or do you want staff? What's your...
Well, I provided an update, Chairman, where you weren't here at the last meeting. It was just referred back to staff, so nothing, it's just very basic explanation. So Director Grenier would probably be best to get an update.
Sure. Included in the packet, we provided a 3-page memo that was prepared by Ryan Pickler, one of the civil engineers in the Utilities Division. We had gone out, performed a in-field physical inspection of the area in question. There is some naturally occurring erosion along the stream bank, both in the areas of 1004 and 1024 LeCount Road. In the opinion of staff, the erosion that is occurring is not significant. It does not appear to pose a threat to the public or private infrastructure. So at this point in time, we are not recommending any further action.
Alder Burnett?
Yeah, so this concern came up primarily because one of the property owners has a driveway that goes over the stream, and the driveway is buckling. Some of the pavement, concrete, I'm not sure what it is, asphalt, it's cracking, and he wanted to know if the city would be responsible for that repair or if he would. Director Grenier, that would be the responsibility of the property owner. Is that correct?
To be honest with you, I'm going to have to go back and take a look at that. Generally speaking, driveway aprons are the responsibility of the property owner because that represents a limited easement to the property owner across public right-of-way.
Okay. Well, at this stage, I asked the Director Public Works to look into it, which he certainly did, spent some staff time preparing a report. So I'd be comfortable with making a motion to receive and place on file. And then I'll contact the constituent, let him know about the report. And then if I need to pull it at the full council, I'll certainly do that.
Second.
All right, motion by Alder Burnett, second by Alder Scannell to receive and place on file. Any other discussion on that item? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Number 2, consideration with possible action on request by area West Side residents to install sidewalks on the west side of Green Bay portion of Wood Lane from Hazelwood to Ironwood. Part of the sidewalk costs to the 2 property owners would be offset by a donation of $2,500 from resident Paul Secker and a possible grant obtained from the MacArthur Heights Neighborhood Association, and work collaboratively with Brown County and or Schwabenland. Referred back from February 24th. Director.
And I apologize to the committee that I just looked at the packet today and realized that the memo that Dave Hansen, the traffic engineer, prepared for this it's dated Friday, August 6th, so it didn't come in until after the agenda was published, so it's not included in your packet. What I can do is summarize the memo that David prepared. He did go out, take a look at the existing facilities, traffic counts, vehicle counts in the neighborhood, what the pedestrian counts are, existing studies and plans, potential for nearby development, and the conclusions that Dave came to is currently no sidewalk exists on Wood Lane. The municipal code if we were to do any kind of new subdivision, if there was room for development along Wood Lane, due to the nature of the street, sidewalks would have to be constructed on one side at a minimum and preferably both. The city's Safe Walk and Bike Plan does recommend sidewalks on the west side of Wood, north of the intersection at Hazelwood to West Point Road, and does recommend shared bike lanes in the future. All of this would be taken care of at such time that the road is reconstructed. Pedestrians appear to be crossing the east and west crosswalks only during peak hours when peak hours of vehicular traffic. Presuming that sidewalk is installed on the west side of Wood Lane, by also installing sidewalk on the east side of Wood, the number of pedestrian crossings would be reduced by 2. Potential future developments are expected to increase road user trips, and it would require the construction of some curb ramps or potential reconstruction of existing curb ramps on the south corners of Wood Ironwood and the north corners of Wood Hazelwood. So the recommendation of the traffic engineer is, at a minimum, install sidewalk on the west side of Wood Lane from Hazelwood to Ironwood, including any necessary curb ramps at intersections, and desirably install sidewalks on both sides of Wood from Hazelwood to Ironwood. For those of you who are not as familiar with the neighborhood as alders in that area, that would be a 1-block segment north of Hazelwood Lane at Wood Lane.
Director, has Alder Vanderleest been in touch with you at all?
I have not spoken with Alder Vanderleest about this at all.
Okay. Alder Gerlach?
So that summary sounds to me like Dave Hansen is recommending to do exactly what Alder Vanderleest is saying. Am I right?
Correct.
And I know this is very naive, but then the residents pay for their sidewalk, right?
Typically, yes. The cost to install and maintain is borne by the property owner, with the exception of the curb ramps, which we're very particular about making sure the curb ramps are compliant with the American with Disabilities Act, so the city maintains the curb ramps. We pay that cost.
So Mr. Hansen and Alder Vanderleest are both asking for the same thing. Am I hearing that?
Well,
Sounds very simple.
Alder Vanderleest requested it, and the traffic engineer is concurring with the request, yes.
Good. Then I move that we approve it.
There's a motion.
I'll second it, but I have a question.
Okay. There is a second, and under discussion, Alder Scannell.
The traffic engineer Hanson also suggested we do the east side of the street. And if we did that, who would pay for, they would be the same owners, but as far as we know, there's no money set aside from either the neighbor association or a donation for the east side. So would that be something we should pick up at another time?
Well, what we can do, presuming that the motion goes through to approve this, what we will do is then we'll reach out to Alder Vanderleest and Mr. Secker. We'll try to estimate what we think the cost of the sidewalk on one side is. We can then estimate what the cost on the east side would be, and provide them sort of with a cafeteria plan approach, and get some feedback from the neighborhood association or whoever is donating the money towards the sidewalk.
So could we, if they decide then to do both sides, should we somehow approve this to allow that to happen? Do we need to do that? If we just approve the west side, is that, and they do the east side, does that really need our approval?
I think what we would do is approve the item as presented if the cost comes in favorably and there's enough money, if everything lines up that they could also do the east side, we would then bring that back as a separate item
Okay, all
as a follow-up.
right. I was just wondering if we could be a little active, so you wouldn't have to bring it back if we changed this, but would it be better to bring it back?
I appreciate that. I think it gets awful muddy if we do that. I think procedurally, I think it'd probably be better. And I don't see us losing any time due to it, especially seeing as we're back to meeting every other week.
Okay, so you think it'll be a cakewalk?
I'm out. Elder Burnett? No, I thought you had your hand up. Okay.
That's it.
I thought I seconded it.
Yep. Elder Gerlach, Elder Scannell. I think you're muted, Elder Burnett.
Oh, I apologize. It's Alderman Vanderleest's district. I'm quite familiar with that area. I mean, if there seems to be no objections and no one from the public is here to object, I see no reason not to go forward at this point.
All right. Steve, what do you have for the motion?
What I've got is Alder Gerlach, seconded by Alder Scannell, to approve the request by area West Side residents to install the sidewalks. So we're just going to keep the language that's in here.
Okay.
At a minimum, you've approved the request that the resident has come with because the resident hasn't yet requested the east side. We'll go back with some cost information for that for the resident. He's got the approval to go forward with the west side already. If he decides to expand that and make it east, we just come back with a second item to add on to it.
Perfect. Is that good with everybody? All right. No. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Number 3, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, I think we're holding this one up again.
We definitely can if you want. We've got the information in the packet. There's quite a long history there, but again, you know, this came out Friday with the packet when the packet was published, and if there's so much information there that you would like a little time to chew on it, that's perfectly fine with us. This is your item.
I apologize, I didn't see, I thought you weren't going to have it ready till next time. I didn't even see it.
No, I'm sorry. This is just the 20-year history item. This is not the expanding the program to 3% item.
Okay, so they do all tie together. So it's up to the committee if you want to talk about what's in there right now, but there's still half the report that's coming.
Correct.
I really need time to look at this.
It's a bit, and then there'll be more, and Steve, you'll have that to us before our meeting, right, so we can.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get that thing wrapped up before the end of this week, so you guys have a chance to have.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the hard work on that.
Well, it's kind of funny because it's going to end up being maybe a 3 or 4 page memo, so it's not going to look like, but there's a ton of background information that goes into it. But yeah, we want to make sure that you have that and you have time to chew on all the numbers that are in there and be able to have a good discussion on it as well.
Okay. No, I appreciate it.
May I just ask a question before we put it aside? So there's no introduction at all. And so I jump right into these tables, these mind-numbing tables, yearly summary centerline length. So, holy smoke. I mean, is this supposed to make sense? Am I supposed to be able to figure out what this is telling me?
Well, and to have a little bit of discussion right now to assist the alders in what they're seeing, I think is not necessarily a bad thing.
I'll go for that.
So center line length as opposed to lane mile. So on a 4-lane facility, your lane miles will be 4 times longer than what the center line length is. Make sense? The distance down the block, if the distance of a block is 500 feet, that's measured down the center line of the block. That's a center line length. If it's a 4-lane road,
Got it.
you would have 2,000 feet of lane mile.
Got it. Yes.
Okay. So what you're getting is a summary by year of the center line length of road that has been new construction, that would be like new subdivisions, reconstruction, resurfacing, those are city streets, alleys which are not, they're alleys, they're not a full street, projects we've done collaboratively with the state of Wisconsin, the total cost for the pavement project, and then the total of all types across that row in feet.
Oh, the total of all types.
So if you add the new construction, reconstruction, resurfacing, alley, state for the year, you come up with a total.
Okay, I got that one.
And then all the pages that come after that are a listing of each of the individual projects that make up this summary.
Okay.
Any other questions on this part of the information? I do see it's interesting back in the early 2000s, the total center line feet, you know, there's some big years there, 76,000, 73, 85, 59. So we really did some massive road work back in the early 2000s. And we dipped down into the 27, 27, 27, 42, 27, 27, 24, 22, 23. So it's just interesting information how it kind of decreased fairly significantly.
Two things happen there. If you keep an eye on the new construction, that's when the housing boom was going.
Oh, yeah.
So we were building well over 20,000 in one year, 2003, over 30,000 of new subdivision roads. And then take a look at the resurfacing as well. We had 30,000 lineal feet of resurfacing. What happened there was the program dollar value stayed relatively constant, and as the purchasing value of the dollar fell away, that was part of it. The other part of it was as we started getting into 2009 and beyond, after the housing bust first hit, there were a lot of folks who showed up at INS requesting that their street not be resurfaced because they didn't want to pay the assessments. So we were losing streets at a pretty rapid rate. As a matter of fact, I think it was 2019 or 2018, you know, in that period, we wound up losing almost 60% of our roads in one year at the hearings. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely a trend there, but we do have some historical data on some of the contributing factors.
That's a good chart. It clearly spells it out. Alder Burnett?
Thank you, Director Grenier. I was wondering about that. Was at the mayor's State of the City address, he had mentioned that the certain year range average that currently the last few years the city has resurfaced so much more compared to that period of time. And then I remember, it was like, how is that possible? Then I remember the postcard surveys. You know, a lot of people were turning down road construction and reconstruction on their street. So over time, of course, in modern time, like the last few years, we're going to have that increase because we have the wheel tax. So, I thank you. I was reflecting on that. I'm like, that didn't make sense, but now it does, especially after you explained it even further.
Well, and that's why when we come with the annual memo talking about the uses for the vehicle registration fee money, we sort of use the implementation year for the wheel tax. So we talk about the 10-year average prior to the wheel tax coming in and the 1 year before wheel tax came in, and then what we're doing as compared to that, because that's the big metric in our mind. I hope you folks agree with that. One of the biggest turning points, definitely during my tenure here, has been implementation of the wheel tax because folks suddenly dropped most of the opposition to the road projects when they didn't have to come up with that big chunk of change out of pocket.
Director Grenier, was it 2019 the first year of using? Because you can see the jump there.
I think so.
From 20,000 to 38.
Yeah, I can't remember if I think 19 may have been the first year we actually put money towards projects.
Yeah, Hillcrest and Haven, that controversy, that happened April 2018, and that caused us to, as a council, pass the wheel tax that fall, I believe. So that sounds about right.
Perfect.
Question,
great.
please.
Sure, go ahead.
So two questions. After we look at this summary on the first page, there's really no need to look at all of those. I mean, that just breaks out where it was done, right? That's not going to be of a lot of help to us, right? Unless I personally want to know, like, how much money was invested in East Mason Street over the last 20 years. I don't really have to study all those streets. Isn't that right? Or do you want me to, Director Grenier?
I'm not asking you to, Alder Gerlach. Alder Weary asked for the information, so we gave as much information as we could.
Okay,
That
so
way-
now that takes,
That way, we're not
we're
not at a deficit of it. I would rather provide you with more information than less.
yes, this is not a deficit. So Alder Weary, what was the reason you wanted this report? So I can keep that context in mind as I study this.
Oh, certainly. It was to kind of give the background, historical information of where we were and where we want to go. The rest of the request was how can we build up to do even more? So it kind of bringing us from where we were, where we are, and where we want to go, right? And so we're kind of on the where we were and where we are. Now we're waiting for the next part. How do we get even more if we want?
Okay, thank you.
If that makes sense.
Well, that makes sense.
It's great
Yes.
so far, Steve. It's great data and it helps explain, a lot. So look forward to your report.
So
So
do
we're
I.
gonna
Last
hold
night
this
kind of
then?
last night kind of put a
Yeah, I got
We
some
had the
balls.
flooding. Thought we had the flooding issues behind us temporarily, anyways.
Yeah.
actually flooding issues were not a problem. We can talk about that under the director's
okay.
report.
All right.
All right.
Might be
I think
more.
we can just hold this till our next meeting if it's okay.
That's fine with me.
No.
Motion by Alder
Second.
Scannell, second by Alder Gerlach to hold this item. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And number 4, consideration with possible action on request by Transformation House Holdings LLC to enter into a parking rental agreement for space in Lot B located in the 600 block of South Broadway.
Okay, if you're familiar with that area of South Broadway, as you cross, if you're coming down South Broadway from the north heading south, as you approach the Mason Street overpass, on the west side, there is a parking ramp most people associate with the old White Store there. And up until 2 years ago, Brown County Health Department was headquartered in what used to be the White Store, and they rented most of the stalls in that lot. Transformation House is now moved into the neighborhood, and they are looking to rent some parking stalls from us. We have capacity in Lot B because Brown County has moved their folks up here into the Sophie Beaumont building. So they approached us to determine whether or not they could execute a parking lease with the city. So we're simply we've got a standard parking lease agreement form that we utilize with all of our monthly clients. So they've come and asked to enter into an agreement, and we need to get approval from the committee to do that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Alder Scannell to approve, second by Alder Gerlach. Alder Burnett.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, I'm quite familiar with that property. And I know that Transformation House, the gentleman who owns that, they have a different shelter, but that building, I believe they lease out. So I don't know what sort of programming they plan on doing connected to Transformation House, but I know of specifically one nonprofit in that building. And I think this is a very good thing for us to allow them to use this agreement. So I'm in favor. Because when we say Transformation House, I don't know what that means exactly. If they're going to run programming another
Yeah.
shelter. Obviously, have to go through the other permitting process.
We
But I
don't,
think it's for
we
the tenants,
don't-
right?
we don't know either. Transformation House Holdings LLC is the owner of record of the building.
Yeah.
And either for themselves or for tenants or
Yep.
whomever, they've asked for parking associated with the building, so.
Okay. All right. Yep, I'm in favor. No problem.
Any other discussion on this one? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, consideration of possible action on request by Skip Heverly to renew the Platten Place parking agreement for Lot F.
Lot F is immediately west of the old Fort Square building. And Skip Heverly, the owner of Platten Place Apartments, has been renting from us in that parking lot for several years. The term of his parking agreement has come due, so he is simply requesting to renew that parking agreement under current rates.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alder Scannell to approve, second by Alder Gerlach. Any discussion on that one? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, consideration with possible action on request by Department of Public Works to execute, we'll just stop it right there. To execute Amendment 12, the Brown County Municipal Recycling Agreement.
And we have included in your packet a copy of the amendment. Again, just to refresh everyone's memory, Brown County, each of the municipalities are responsible units for recycling. And we work collaboratively with Brown County as a recycling unit and enter into a municipal recycling agreement. By entering into this agreement and committing our recycling tonnage there and the agreement to utilize Brown County services, having the knowledge that they've got that recycling tonnage essentially under contract, we're able to get better pricing through the county because some of the recycling and landfill fees are very much intertwined. So it's definitely been a beneficial arrangement with Brown County. We do recommend executing this amendment, and just for your knowledge, probably within the next several months, we're working on a new master agreement for solid waste management services through Brown County, as that's going to be affected by the new landfill going in the town of Holland. So we're going to be seeing more solid waste related things at committee over the next couple of months.
Oh, good.
Wasting that one. Sorry, Randy.
Oh.
Beat you to it. All right. Any discussion or what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Elder Scannell, second by Elder Gerlach. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 7, report the award of the contract sewers 521 East Shore Sanitary Lift Station.
We have included, the summary table is definitely going to look different than what you've become accustomed to. We typically had just a table that it had some yellow on it. We have moved, this is the first project that we have bid out using fully electronic bidding. So the contractors don't come in with a paper bid anymore. They submit them and we open them completely electronically through our bid, through Quest CDN. So what we included in your packet is the printout report that came from Quest CDN. You are reading it correctly. There was exactly one bidder, and it came in at $199,000. It's a little higher than we were expecting, but in consultation with Assistant Director Brunette and Utility Manager Matt Heckenleibel, we had a couple of sanitary projects come in a little bit lower this year, so we do have the funding to complete the work. We talked about options like rescoping, and there really isn't a lot to rescope. It's a pretty straightforward project. What we could do to rebid it and try to entice some additional contractors, and we're really not coming up with a whole lot. The project was brought forward because it is a very necessary project, although it's a little higher than we were hoping. Again, we do have the funding for it, so staff is making the recommendation to award to August Winter.
I assume, Director, this is going to help with some flooding in that area? Is that...
Actually, this is a sanitary lift station.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Is it just a report to the reward? We're not approving anything, are we?
I think it is a report.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
This is a done deal.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is, well, it doesn't hurt to give you the background on what happened anyway. This one wound up coming out about a week or so, maybe 2 weeks later than what we had originally anticipated. We were waiting on the electrical plans to come back from the sub-consultant who was designing the electrical system. So we had received prior award. This was we were originally anticipating receiving the bids in July, but because the bid date got pushed back, we're actually in the normal session again. So the report is to let you know that even though it came in a little higher than we were hoping, we are making that award. So if anyone
Motion to
has any
receive and place
questions.
on file.
Second.
Motion to receive and place on file. Alder Scannell, second by Elder Gerlach. You had your hand up before, Alder Gerlach. Do you have a question?
No, I was going to make a motion and beat him to the punch.
Randy stole it from you. Any other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Informational. Director's report.
Okay, the only thing that I really wanted to, well, I've got two things that I wanted to bring up. First one is relative to the active weather pattern that we're currently in. We received heavy rains across the city over the weekend. We've been talking about, these storm probabilities, and I'm estimating that the Saturday storm in some parts of the city may have been as high as a 1 in 500 occurrence. So that's a nasty storm. Definitely east side, based on some of the weather or rain gauges that we saw in the duration of the storm, we were over the 1 in 250 storm event, with no doubt at all. But even with that in mind, the flooding was not as bad as it could have been. So by and large, the system handled it fairly well. We had some street flooding, but to a large degree, in a matter of hours, that dissipated on its own.
How was Broadway by Clinton?
To be honest with you, I didn't get any reports. So
Good.
I know
No
we
pumping
did.
out?
We did get some. I don't think that flooded over the week. Yes, it did. Yes. No, I'm pretty sure Matt said our family restaurant had water in it. Yeah. And we did have data. All three of the pumps in the brand new lift station were wide open at the time. So, then we got another 2 inches on Sunday. That one wasn't nearly as bad. It could have been really bad because the ground had not had a chance to dry out from Saturday yet. So everything that fell ran off. That's just, at that point, grass acts like asphalt. It just sheds all the water. Last night, the rain didn't cause us nearly as much problems as the wind did. We had a lot of wind damage, fairly isolated. I was really surprised. I was watching the storms come in from Seymour, tracking on radar, and by and large, it looks like the west side got off pretty well unscathed. Definitely not to the extent east side got absolutely punished. We had well over 30 locations of trees or limbs down that were impacting or impeding vehicular traffic. WPS had several thousand out of power here in Green Bay. We had 2 signalized intersections go down. We were able to get the first one back online by about 9 o'clock. That was Walnut at Baird, right in front of East High School. The second location that went down was Monroe Avenue as it passes under Mason Street. And that one was actually out of service because Wisconsin Public Service lost electrical power in the area. The electricians went down there with a portable generator and ran it by generator until early this morning when WPS reestablished power to the area. So we did have crews out all night doing a lot of barricading. I know there's a lot of storm cleanup going on across the city. And at 7 o'clock this morning, I was informed by buildings and ground staff that the membrane roof, so different types of roofs, and on commercial establishments, a lot of times, it's really above the roofing material, then they put a insulation layer, and then above the insulation, it's a big rubber membrane. So your roof, it's like having a rubber roof on the building. The wind got to the membrane on the mechanics bays, the three mechanics bays on the east side shop. And so if you're familiar with our east side shop location, the mechanics bays are directly behind you if you're at the gas pump by Stillmank Brewery. So if you're at Stillmank looking across the street, you see the office complex, and then there's kind of a lower roofed area, that's the mechanics bays. We lost the roof on the entire mechanic bay, and we had quite a bit of water get in there. All the mechanics toolboxes, every drawer in the toolbox was full of water. We had several vehicles or pieces of equipment that were in there that were being actively worked on. So we're trying to get that all cleaned up and assessed. Things like drill presses and welders and all the shop tools that are lying out on the benches and things like that. We had a mess on our hands this morning. So by about 11 o'clock this morning, they had made temporary repairs to the roof to try to keep things moving forward. Mechanics did a phenomenal job. They picked themselves up and relocated to a different part of the building. It's not as efficient, but they're able to keep going. So they've kept on working and keeping the fleet moving. We had the rainstorm come through earlier this afternoon. I did get a preliminary report. They did a good job in patching the roof, but not a great job in patching the roof. Some water did get through, but considering it was temporary repairs, all things considered, it held up pretty well. But we are going to have to go forward with. We involved the risk management group upstairs. We anticipate that insurance claim will be forthcoming, but we are going to have to effect some emergency repairs to get that roof back in place. So, again, the storms last night, not so much the rain, definitely more wind impact. And we're under a tornado watch until 8 o'clock, but I think the bulk of the weather may have moved out of the area for right now. We did have some concerns earlier today when the tornado sirens went off.
Does Alder Gerlach want to make a motion?
You may make a motion.
I was gonna ask Steve quick before you do that, if it's all right.
Yep.
Thanks for doing those callbacks, Steve, on all the sidewalks. Obviously, I know Alder Gerlach, you went through this last year maybe, and now this year, all the sidewalk replacement. I don't know if you went through as much. Seems like I'm getting a lot of calls and emails about it.
Oh, don't
And
even start. My whole, all of Old Preble just about is involved. We had 35 people at a meeting Monday night that Director Grenier spoke at.
And right now it's the Lombardi area. So there is unfortunately no Lombardi Neighborhood Association, but as soon as you get that new letter ready, I'd be looking forward to it to help explain things. But
Yeah, and as I told, I think I told all the Gerlach on Monday night, I wanted to have some of the, even if it was a draft copy of the new information, I was hoping to have something to talk about or at least get a status update to find out where we're at. Unfortunately, Jennifer McCartney, who's been spearheading that effort, is on vacation this week. So, I did make the presentation in front of Old Preble. The 5 individuals that you passed on to me, I was actually able to talk to 4 of them and left a message for the 5th. There's one other individual that we got under. He contacted us directly, so I'll be making that phone call tomorrow. We are reaching back and getting in contact with these folks on a one-to-one basis, but yeah, we do need to finish up that expanded informational material.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Some take it okay and some are pretty feisty.
And everyone I've talked to, I've tried to explain the same thing. Every time, as we're going through, this is only the second year of the program, so each year we're learning something, and based off of the comments we're getting, that's helping us, develop and refine this educational material. Unfortunately, somebody had to be first, and you folks are in the districts that happen to be first, so doesn't make it an easier pill to swallow, but
I appreciate your help, though.
If I might offer something that might be helpful to you, because I have kind of had a baptism by fire with this. And after that meeting we had Monday night, where there were lots of questions asked and a lot of explanations given up, I would just say the two main things that came out of that people didn't understand and I didn't understand. One is that so much of this can be done by the property owner at a very small expense. And we have some people in Old Preble who are not even slated to have their sidewalks replaced until next year, and they've already filled the divots and it looks really good and they're probably finished. That's one thing. People we assume that if you got X's, the city's going to come in and charge you $200 for every sidewalk cake and you're going to be poor. And the second thing is, what was the second thing that was so helpful? What was it, Director Grenier?
was it with having the neighbors banding
Yes,
together?
that was it. Yes. When we have one very proactive neighbor who said, I'm going to gather everybody together on my street, and we're going to see about hiring one contractor that will give us a deal because they can just do all these sidewalks contiguously. That couple was at the meeting on Monday night, and they did ask some questions. And so Director Grenier pointed out to people that if they want to work together and get a city-approved contractor, they could probably save some money.
Perfect. Thanks, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else for Director? I think the sun's coming out. Good.
To receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file by Elder Scannell,
Second.
second by Elder Gerlach. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Our next meeting, August 25th.
Motion to adjourn.
I was going to say it. Second.
I was going to let you say the other motion.
Okay. Second. Second by Elder Gerlach.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Aye.
carried.
Thank you.
Right, have a good evening.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Stay dry.